rotting man lies on his side with his eyes looking straight through you. The belt is still around his neck. His body is supine and open to intrusion by autopsy. The lieutenant adjusts his glasses and takes a deep breath.
Come on, officer. You know what a field autopsy is. You've done 100 of them.
What you do know is, at 18.9 kilometers, the dormant shield volcano, Corpus Mundi, is the world's highest summit, and the failure of the 38 single, Et puis descend, to crack the top 20 was the death knell of disco. But what a field autopsy is, you have no idea. You must have me confused with the Copperpedia. You, sir, you are the Copperpedia.
There truly is a time for everything, even for yellow gardening gloves. However, they are lacking hygienically. I suggest you get in there in limited capacity. I'll ask you when I need you to. For the most part, maybe I should handle the contact and you take notes? That's right.
You knew it because you inspected your ledger. The lieutenant is relieved you know the protocol. The dead man stares in silence as you crack open the ledger. The bright red paper is covered in boxes and lists, describing the condition of his skin and organs in 3 parts. Above those, an 11-field info form needs filling out first. It begins with,
That's you.
The corpse is indifferent to your scribblings, just lies there. The next box says,
KK57-0803.0815.
That's because he doesn't want to bring up the messy question of your initials.
Next. We've heard the nom de guerre, Lely. It's better than nothing. Write it down. What's next? Date of birth? NA. Roughly 50.
Try 40. The damage is so extensive, it's better to err on the young side. He nods.
Mondial. Subgroup Occidental, as per your observation.
The pudgy mess looks neither mondial nor occidental. It doesn't even look human. The next line says, as you read it, you think, that leaves out dark-haired, Mesk, Sal, Sarah Mauritian, Kedratic. Lighter-skinned occidental means this man could be Vespertine, Oranese, Messinian. Those 3 are on the table. A solid guess, Mr. Racial Profiler. Also of note, your unconscious racial profiling machine ruled out Messinian before. Despite all the Copperoonies and Cobos, that leads Vespertine or Oranese. Continue.
Fucky!
Male.
Pigs can have sex!
Nor does he look male, with his pregnant belly and indistinguishable face.
We're still going with March 4th, 51. What else? 9. Body identified by is non-applicable. 10. Case number is the same as the coroner's case.
KK 57 0503 0815 listens motionless, with the cargo belt still around his neck. Only 1 box remains.
None, at least not after the initial examination. Interfering with the body's position or wounds post-mortem. They'd have to have incapacitated and carried him over. This man was more than a match for untrained dogwalkers.
Your central nervous system recognizes this gesture. It's the stations of the breath. Ecclesiastic, religious in nature, a holdout from pre-DeLorean burial rites. It takes him 2 seconds to perform. Then, somewhere in Jamrock North, a small wood shed behind Rosenkrantz Row, Lieutenant Nick Feuerbach puts his hand to the chest of a small corpse, no larger than a monkey. It's raining outside, light drizzle. There is darkness in the shed. Elsewhere yet, an obese female sits in a wicker chair, her silhouette bull-like against the window. Outside, Grand Coudon. The day is turning dim for Sergeant Mac Dawson. Hand extended, he approaches, to make sure she is dead more than anything else. The building is tall, 7 stories wind-wrapped in solitude. Most of the apartments are unoccupied. This was a suicide. The other, an accident. The small one. And so, all across Jamrock, Coal City, GRIH, 42 deceased persons found today. 42 stations of breath.
We should start the post-mortem.
The corpse cannot feel Kim's hand on his chest. It no longer meaningfully interacts with its surroundings. A thicket of boxes and lists on red copier paper tries to answer why.
Clothes. The deceased wears armored boots and white briefs. The make of the briefs is Babrodin, I think. Let's see.
See, it's happening.
Babrodin, yes. Inexpensive. Size M. Color white.
The disappointment is palpable. The red-haired thing was expecting something more lurid.
The boots are ceramic, vitreous enamel. They are fused to his skin from blood flowing downward post-mortem. Removal of the boots is left for processing.
It would be clever of you to omit the boots altogether, sire. If you are to keep them for yourself, as you ought to, you have deserved them more than anyone else.
The boot has a serial number. It's E50.100.100. The lines between the plates are in the shape of the alphanumerical. The number is purposefully concealed by the design. Tattoos. The upper torso is covered in a single, continuous tattoo, resembling a map of the night sky. It reaches from the right shoulder to the heart. The ink is blue and white. The assistant has a color photograph of the markings, to be added to the case files as document A1. The photo is taken on the scene, using a Trigat Mini. The deceased has a belt for airlifting cargo around his neck, tied with a hangman's knot. Color yellow. Length 3 meters. There is a buckle on the other end. Well-nourished, athletically built, measuring 1.8 meters. Generally consistent with age 42. Preservation is good. Ambient temperature below freezing. Body hair is light brown. Distribution is consistent with the age. The deceased had male pattern baldness. Hair is combed back, short.
The hair under your latex fingers feels cold to touch, wet. The stench is suffocating. Strands of dark brown hair start sticking to the latex of the glove, like thread off a rag doll's head. There must be brilliantine in there. He's combed his hair back with oil.
Lividity is consistent with hanging, albeit faint, as noted. The head is congested. Contusions are present on the head, chest, and thighs, consistent with stones thrown post-mortem. Low velocity.
Fucking low velocity? You think Kuno doesn't know what you're talking about? Velocity was fucking max. Talking shit about Kuno's velocity.
In addition, there are bite marks on the face, scalp, and chest, consistent with predation. Ligature mark. The steel wiring. There's too much of it. We need to remove the belt so we can get to the ligature mark.
You got just the right tool for that. The chain cutters. The hanged man lets out a joyous little bubble of rot from his nose.
Always good to think ahead, Now, we need to cut the belt to see the ligature mark below. Carefully, with as much precision as you can.
See? My pig is gonna fuck his head off.
No, he ain't. Your pig's a boring fuck.
You are? This pig is Kuno's.
The belt is equally tight around the whole circumference of his neck, swelling over the edges like white bread rising from the east. The knot is the weak spot. The chain cutters fit in there, steady now, like a flower arranger. 2 cuts and it should come loose. After some deliberation, you sink the cutters into the knot tying the belt together. You squeeze the rubber handles together, sweat forming on your brow. Snap! The knot is slashed. Another cut and the belt falls apart like a flower bouquet, revealing the dead man's neck and the dark red ligature mark around it.
The rope rises to a point, leaving a gap in the ligature mark. The suspension point is in the back of the neck.
As it ought to. This is where its grip on the curdled meat is gentlest, pulling up.
Hemorrhaging is observed on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. The mark is well pronounced, consistent with a drop from 1 or 1.5 meters. Chest is intact, normal contour. Abdomen is protuberant, pelvis intact, genitalia...
Now! Let's get up and see!
I fucking knew it!
This is clearly what they've been waiting for, ever since the autopsy began. The lieutenant is trying to make it as boring as possible.
Genitalia is male and unremarkable. No evidence of injury. Ah yes, your hunch before. We can have a semen analysis requested from processing, if that's what you meant. No, you weren't, officer. That would be preposterous. Just write down that we request a semen, vaginal, and anal fluids analysis.
The corpse with his pants down does not have an opinion on the subject. All he has is genitals and a deathly odor. The dead man's penis is average-sized, congested from the downward collection of blood. The testicles are uneven in length, hanging underneath. The genitalia is greenish. Marbling is present around the crotch.
Back is symmetrical and intact. Upper and lower extremities are intact, but asymmetrical. There are combat injuries on the right hand, thigh, and hip. In addition, I see smaller, residual scars, too numerous to count, covering about 30% of his skin.
From wounds sustained over 2, maybe more decades, dispersal and accumulation indicates long and active combat duty.
We have a real museum here. Of battles, wars. Last item, hands.
His flesh is cold, icy.
Pleased to meet you. Where are you from and what's your name? I'm only fucking with you. I know where you're from. From Cappadocia. And your name is Il Corbo. What can I do you for, Il Corbo de Cappadocia? I did, Kobo. I did. Reminded me of when I was just a small boy, before this happened to my face and my body. We should do this more often. Be close like this, I mean.
Hands are clean. No sign of injury from struggling. I was. Maybe I'm just not seeing them. Honestly, this stench is making it hard for me to think at the moment. Ooh. That's all for the external. Well done. What next? Central nervous system. I have nothing. Do you have anything on this man's central nervous system?
Of course, there is a moral to be drawn from it. a moral to this story.
What would that be?
The dead man looks, too, with barely contained excitement to hear the moral of his story.
I think that may well be the moral of every story, officer. Good. Musculoskeletal. Purge fluid is coming from the mouth, not injury-related. Eyes and tongue protuberant. Hyoid bone. Let's see.
With his eyes almost closed, the lieutenant puts his hand on the dead man's throat and begins to massage it, gently. A rotting smell erupts from the mouth. Purge fluid runs down his lips, black and viscous. You hear cracks as the lieutenant moves his sharp fingers inside the flesh, like the creaking of an old house at night.
Yeah, jack that fucker off!
The hyoid bone is fractured. The rest of the musculoskeletal system is intact. Unremarkable. Respiratory system. Oral cavity shows no lesions. The victim has received dental implants, possibly after a combat wound. Mouth swollen, hemorrhaging present in mucosa of the lips and mouth.
No scream, no sigh of relief rises from the darkness inside. It's humid there. Sickly sweet air, unlike anything living. You feel like you're about to throw up again, straight in that mouth of his. It's hard. Once more, you taste stomach acid in the back of your throat. A contraction. Your throat pumps a little something from your stomach and into your mouth. You're forced to swallow, just to keep looking. Inside, you see darkness. Just a mess of meat and darkness.
There are ancient mysteries down there, Kobo. Ask me later.
Hemorrhaging present in mucus. Hepatobiliary, NA. Are you a hepatobiliary expert?
Hepato means liver, and biliary, the gallbladder and bile ducts. Nothing in your alcohol-soaked memory directs to having forensic expertise on either one.
Neither am I. That's it. Same for toxicology and serology, NA. Unless you have untapped reservoirs of knowledge there?
Reservoirs? No, but do they take obscure trivia and odd tidbits?
No. We already have one test as per regulation, and we already requested semen.
Pigs requested semen like it's no big deal.
I'm not even interested in these boring mulkers anymore. I haven't sucked him off or anything.
Leave it NA, then. Cardiovascular. The body exhibits heavy lividity. Blood has gathered in the hands, feet, and neck. Hypostasis is visually consistent with the hanging. Gastrointestinal. Digested semi-solid food in stomach. Voila. What's next on the list? Let's see. We have bite marks, contusions on the head and chest, and a ligature mark encircling the neck. You'll need 3 feels. Leave a 4th one too.
Be thorough if you want maximum results.
Head, chest, and scalp bite mark injuries. Predation by birds has caused damage to the body. Odontologist does not need to be consulted. And your opinion, officer? Agreed. Next injury? So, the scalp bleeds from a post-mortem head injury, a stone. The injury does not have the rim of an early inflammatory response. The perpetrator on the scene has confessed to causing it post-mortem.
At maximum velocity, fucko!
Has confessed to causing it at maximum velocity.
Coagulated blood sticks to his scalp and chest. where the countless stones have hit the dead man. Beneath, the description of injury. 2 boxes.
Right. Next. A dark red abraded ligature mark encircling the neck, with a gap on the nape measuring, let's say, 7 centimeters. The hyoid bone is fractured, the cervical column intact. I see hemorrhaging on the skin above and below the ligature mark. Depth of the mark, 1 centimeter. No signs of clawing on the neck.
Below the note, 2 customary boxes wait to be ticked. The man's head jerks to the side. The ring around his neck is visible. Think for a moment. There's time. Don't rush. He is deep in thought, eyes fixed on the bright red ring around the dead man's neck.
Why do you say that? Okay. Why don't you think it was fatal? Honestly, I'm not sure there weren't marks on his wrist. That part got blurry for me. The stench. But you are right, I was ready to call this. Now I think we should leave it empty, at least for the time being. Let's wrap this up. I pronounce this field autopsy over. It was an irregular field autopsy. We did not establish cause of death, which is supposed to be the goal of an autopsy. But, personally, I do not see this as a parameter for success. We requested a test to be run on the genitals. That was the règle. The results should arrive in a couple of weeks if we are lucky. I will not hold my breath. Then, given the state of decay here, I consider establishing the victim's ethnicity a minor success. We were thorough with the list of injuries too. We described them all in detail. What is there to say? Given the circumstances, it was a professional field autopsy. I need a copy of that autopsy form. Then I will drive him to Faubourg for processing.
He's thinking, did I miss something? You tilt your head, also looking at the corpse. I'm sure we didn't get everything. There's always something.
Shoot, Looney Rooney. Oh yes, Kobo mi Lobo. In the gift horse's mouth. Tracts and wakes and waterways. Ancient materials buried. Just a small gulp away, my beloved Kobo. A small gulp away. Huh? You're misquoting me, Rooney. I said communism killed me. Love did me in.
You really need to learn the difference, buddy. This is embarrassing.
Come back later, Corpo. Amuse yourself with my frank manners and my memento mori features. If possible, also, see me in your dreams.
The man is decomposing visibly now. The lieutenant adjusts his glasses and takes a deep breath.
Your arm reaches out and your eyes close, as if by their own volition. It's dark all around. You feel cold, dead flesh through the latex glove. It's right under the palm of your hand. His face, his cheeks, his nose, his fat, swollen lips. Like a rubber spider, your gloved hand crawls on his features. Everything is silent, all around. They are swollen shut. you need to really push to get in. Only the little one fits. The flesh changes shape as you bore in, searching for something in the cartilage.
The fuck is he doing?
The thing you're looking for, it's not there. Crawl out, spider. The oral cavity is cold and moist. A ball-like tongue attaches itself to the base of the mouth, lolling around like a scallop. You're on the right track. The tongue moves freely in the cavity. The mucus of the mouth is slippery, fragile, even through the latex. From the soft meat, teeth are budding, hard pearls of bone in the gums and in the back of the mouth. Can you feel it? You're so close. Rip his jaws open now. Look in. A vision of black and dark red death, pried open by your hands and studded with teeth. Looks like he's laughing. Death fumes rising from his throat. And there, in the back of his mouth, above the bell of the uvula, right in the soft palate, you see a hole, barely visible to the human eye. It is swollen shut, almost vanished. No larger than 0.4 centimeters in radius, the edges appear darkened. An abrasion collar. This is what we're after.
Keep going.
Kuno nods, too. He takes a step closer. A black trickle of liquid runs into his throat from the wound. Your index fits right in there. A tight tunnel of flesh opens up. Tissue damage. Wide enough for 2 fingers. As you push both in, you reach through his mouth, right into his brainstem.
The fuck is happening?
Ah, shit, see?
Yes, that's what this part is called. You've seen the drawings. You've studied them. The basal ganglia feels clumpy. What entered here has torn apart his reptilian complex. This man will never sleep again, never wake. Your yellow fingers slide into the remains of the limbic system. There is no resistance. It's gelatinous. The slug-like structures are damaged too. The tearing extends deep into both hemispheres. This is what he used to regulate his emotions with. The lieutenant answers with the sound of his pen on paper.
Fucking cavity, see?
Quivering with awe. Your fingers are all the way in now, reaching toward the inside of his skull. The cavity goes further, but the entry wound isn't wide enough for the rest of your hand to follow. All the muscles in your body harden. Time to enter him. The cartilage is in with a crack, like some fruit. Just like that, your hand is in his head. Strange fluid streams down your wrist, and then you feel it with the tip of your finger. Ice-cold serrated metal. Its edges cut right through the latex and into your finger.
Can you get to it?
There's a tiny crack, a protrusion in the cranium, right in the back of his head. Your finger must be pointing straight at it, from the inside. The object that is in there stops just short of the skull, in the encephalus, knocking this tiny fracture into the cranium.
We have the makings of a very small exit wound here.
Forget about the fucking exit wound, Beano. The pig is wearing him like a fuck puppet.
You pick the object between your index and middle finger. It feels sharp, like metal. With your face twisting from pain and concentration, all you need to do is just...
My pig's fucking got it!
What? What is it?
The inside of the head feels cold and smooth, like a glove, sweat dripping down your brow. Careful not to lose the prize between your fingers. With a plop, your hand emerges from the mouth. The garden glove is covered in blood right up to the wrist. Between your fingers, a small flower, a blossom made of lead.
Fucking beautiful!
A bullet.
The bullet falls in the bag, leaving a smattering of blood on the plastic. He raises the bag under his eyes and says,
A non-calibre. Rifle. Some kind of brittle alloy. Fractured on impact. No, you deserve it. We can log it later. We need to add an item to the injury list. Injury number 4. Oval entry wound with an abrasion color. Soft palate, back of mouth. High velocity. Temporary cavity in brain tissue. Small exit wound on the occiput. How does that sound? Opinion, fatal injury. And one last thing. We can now fill in injury number 3. Ligament mark. Opinion, non-fatal. Post-mortem. Treatment.
He's proposing the bullet was the real cause of death, and the hanging an attempt to conceal this fact.
Treatment, officer, is an attempt to manipulate the body after death, to hide the real cause with a false cause. In this case, this injury here. Yes, and the belt around his neck, the hanging, even dragging him to the yard. All of it was done after this man was already dead. Dead. I have had my doubts since you showed me the tracks. Why did they carry him over? Why not march him, I thought. There was no satisfying explanation. There have been other signs too, small things. We were right not to assign hanging as cause of death, as the perpetrators expected we would. No such luck for them.
We didn't fall for it, he thinks. There's pride in there.
That's for us to find out. But this, it will make finding them just a little easier. To hide something. The real killer? The real motivation? What really happened here? Oh, you really do. I am glad to hear you say that. Your room in the Whirling in Rags should come with a bathroom. Be sure to make use of it in the evening. Yes, we should take a closer look at it. I am certain it has more to tell us.
This little thing could reveal much about the weapon that shot it.
We bag the corpse and carry him to the holding pen of my kinema. I can transport him to processing myself, but I will be gone for the rest of the day. Work on the case. Tend to personal matters. Try not to do anything too dangerous. An officer needs backup in a neighborhood like this. I'll leave that choice to you. And one more thing. Great work, detective.
Shoot, Looney Rooney.
Come back later, Corpo. Amuse yourself with my frank manners and my memento mori features. If possible, also, see me in your dreams.
Hey, was there something you needed?
Well, bringing him that new bird sure made a difference in his attitude.
Got the 20 real? Good. You got the room for the night, but remember, you'll need another 20 real tomorrow.
man is decomposing visibly now. Every hour, he looks less like a creature and more like a pile of intestines. The body is reluctant to let go of the boots, as though it were its last bit of dignity. You're going to need to summon all your strength for this undertaking.
Wow, Kuno's little sneak pig's back for the booty.
Yeah, fuck it to pieces for us, liar cop.
It's not completely useless. You're able to reveal a little more of the putrid polymer sock beneath the boot. It feels like the leg is going to come off along with the boot, but you're able to get the boot to move a centimeter or two. Just relax. This is easy. This is happening. See? The corpse doesn't care if you try to take his boots. He doesn't need them. He's probably glad to get rid of them. This is the right method. It takes some time, but eventually the boots come off, with nasty slices of polymer sock stuck to even bigger pieces of skin and rotting flesh.
Look, he's skinning the fucker up good, Pulko style.
Hell, keep at it, pig.
The legs look like they've been clawed at by wild animals. As for the boots, you can't possibly do anything with them until you've cleaned and disinfected them thoroughly. Yes, these absolutely need to be washed before. The stink is incredible. Didn't the Whirling have a kitchen?
Necromancer, pig. That shit was dark. Going in there like that. Oh, brutal shit. Tell me. Kuno dies. You're gonna pick one out of his brain like that too? Kuno's gonna go out in a hail of bullets. Gonna look like a fucking porcupine.
Porta Rosa, a side alley of the Boogie Street Spearhead. A young man in his early 20s approaches patrol officer Emil Mullins and asks for a cigarette. As Officer Mullins reaches in his coat pocket for the pack of Astra he just purchased this morning, the man shoots him point blank in his chest. Breathless, the patrol officer collapses in the gutter. His right hand is grabbing the armor on his chest. The bullet didn't pierce it, but he can't breathe. On the pavement, the patter of the perpetrator's feet growing distant. Bleed, pig, someone opens a window and says, but Emil cannot see who. His sight grows dim with pain.
Pigs. The fuck do you want with it? Good call, Pigmeister. Don't come and talk to Kuno about his kingdom. The fuck about it? Kuno doesn't give a shit about the armor. Kuno's fuck gimp's got one big thing wrong with him. He's a fucking mutant. Look at him. Fucking growth hormone shit. He's a giant. The armor's too big for any man. Kuno doesn't give a shit about that freak armor. Kuno threw that shit away.
Oh, come on. He's just pretending that he doesn't care because he's too small for the armor.
Get the fuck out of here trying to fuck on me with that midget shit. Kuno's 12. He's huge. What are you? Fucking 80. When Kuno's 80, Kuno can fit 4 of you in Kuno. Fuck out of here.
Trying to fuck on Kuno. Fuck out of here.
Kuno tried to get the helmet on. It was too big. Kuno kicked that shit in the sea, rugby style. That shit means nothing to Kuno. Yeah, that shit means nothing to Kuno. Kuno doesn't give a shit about material shit. Kuno's a fucking monk. You wanna fuck on someone about that armor? Go fuck the mustached union fuck. The jolly troubadour shit at the gate. Yeah, cocking boot. You know that jolly union cow fucker? Came around talking about cows or some shit? Came around pretending like he cares about cows?
Yes, you met him at the gates. The one with the boots and the jolly smile.
Yeah, he's the one you want to talk to. He's fucking crazy about that armor shit. Coming here pretending like he likes cows. Trying to catch a peep at Kuno's armor.
Curious, my liege. Why did Kuno feed you this information?
Yeah, Kuno's doing charity today. Kuno Day. Kuno feels sorry for you, loser pig. Kuno's doing pity now.
Still, seems suspicious. He may have it in for that guy. Or you may be paranoid. That is also a possibility, sire.
Fuck are you talking about? What is this contusion shit?
He says you're stupid, Kuno. They want to make you stupid again.
Oh, did Kuno make your shit sniffing harder? Obstruction of shit sniffing? This is Kuno's kingdom. Kuno fucking rules here. You're testing Kuno's patience here.
Get lost,
Yeah? The kingdom of Kuno? The fuck do you want with it? Look at that fucking shit! You're trying to get Kuno killed! Fuck does Kuno know? Kuno's not a fucking acrobat.
Kuno knows the ladder is unclimbable.
It's a trap, Kuno! Don't climb it, Kuno!
Yeah, whatever. Kuno doesn't give a shit. Kuno doesn't fucking...
This industrial gas-powered stove has been used to prepare food for many hungry hostile guests. There are several pots and pans on hand. Getting the corpse residue out of these boots is going to require patience, and also a huge pot full of boiling water, soap, and white vinegar. A commercial pot draws your attention. It's very large, gigantic even. It could be used to make enough stew to feed an entire city, and also to boil a putrid pair of death boots. There is a variety of soaps and bleaches in the cabinet to the left of the stove. There is also a bottle of white vinegar in the cabinet next to the fridge. The bottom of the pot fills with shiny white goo. All right now, chef, light up the stove and boil them. The soap bubbles over the rim of the pot. The water slowly comes to a boil. Strips of polymer fabric and human tissue separate from the lining of the boots. They float to the bubbling surface. The boots look cleaner and cleaner. Those bits of human flesh are beginning to look cooked. You can smell it too. Just like beef stew. That's it, chef. The boots are as clean as they're going to get. Steam dense with the smell of strange meat disappears into the vent above the stove. The boots look clean, but still smell funky. Feels like you should have used vinegar too. The strong vinegar odor forces you to take a few steps back from the stove. The whole kitchen now smells like white vinegar, but maybe your boots won't smell like a corpse. A pair of real beauties. The boots are shiny, hot, and reek of vinegar. Just perfect. The bed is still cold from the broken window, and not too inviting, but it's yours. You've earned it.